Man, y'all got me intimidated today. Bringing to the table a group of wise men. Bruno Garcia, fellow plant manager, still a plant manager. Federico Perez, plant manager, director of operations. Fernando, former boss of mine, director of operations. And Shawn Davies, a mentor for a lot of us on here today. So no memories today. I always do a memory section. I'm not going to do that. Going to cover a few themes. One is new beginnings. Two, maybe a few manufacturing pro tips. And then three, adding value. So this podcast is about those new beginnings, picking the brain of like-minded manufacturing servant leaders and professionals, and to go where I don't know, right? Because that's what this whole thing's about, is like learning perspective, learning experience, and kind of soaking that up. So on the theme of keep peddling, it's something we used to throw around in the workplace. Just keep peddling, just keep pushing, keep working, keep grinding. What keeps you guys now in your current professions, just like the past, in production and manufacturing?
Bruno, you go first. You're the one that to speak better. Yeah.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, look, I think I said it a couple months back. No industry has gone through as much significant challenge and change as ours has in the last, call it 4 or 5 years. And, as we adapt to what our customers need, manufacturing has to be on the forefront of all that. So I would just say, the thing that keeps me peddling is that I've been very fortunate, whether it was automobiles or beverages or consumer products that we use for grilling and cooking. I've been really fortunate that I've been at the forefront there to where we provide those services and products for customers all around the Americas and all around the globe. So I would just simply say, our call to action over the last couple of years has never been greater. As people go from the workplace to home and to home to the workplace, they have felt our impact all throughout the supply chain. So that to me gets me out of bed every day. And quite frankly, Freddy, to coin your term, keeps me peddling. So thank you.
Nice. I was trying to figure out where that whole thing came from. Keep peddling came from Freddy?
Yeah, that came from me. There it was.
Right.
It was me. So and I was trying to kind of get together, put the phrase together with your question, and I have a thought about when you text us about the questions that you're going to ask us, and you ask us what does keep pedaling for you means. My answer probably was, if I had to answer it in just one question, in just one phrase, or one word, was going to be resilience, no? And the thing came a little bit more bigger than just the word resilience. Is more the kind of the joy of being of the process of getting there. I think that the phrase came out one of those nights that we were trying to fix issues in the plant that we used to run together, and we had a lot of those big nights, and at the end of the day, it was me with Shawn trying to kind of enjoy a moment that didn't mean a lot of joy. It was more like, we're in a difficult situation when we will have fun while we were trying to fix big issues. So keep pedaling, and what it gives me manufacturing is the joy of that. Is the joy of fixing big issues and find positive where there is not a lot of positive sometimes. I don't know if that makes sense.
Awesome. No, that's great. We had a joiner, Gilberto. Good to see you.
Good.
Thanks for jumping in. We were just talking about like, hey, what keeps you in manufacturing? What keeps you charged in what you're doing? So that's where we're at right now.
Fantastic. So thank you for the invite. Thank you for, I'm honored to be among you guys. And yeah, I guess what Freddy said to me is like exactly what I will say. But I will add the fact that we're trying to resolve the issues as a team together. That certainly is something, it's a good feeling to have, not going there alone, just taking those resolutions as a team, making the right decisions. I think that's a game changer. And personally, it's
Awesome. Team wins.
All right, so Admir, I'll go next. So for me, it's, I think everything that y'all said, it's also about striving for excellence. I think no matter what we do, we all want to get better. And it's on the personal side, it's on the professional side. It's also about balance. While we're improving processes, we're developing ourselves, we're developing people. And there's a lot of joy when you keep pedaling and you're around folks that are getting better, doing better. And I think if you look at all of us here, we're all doing something different. I would say we're doing better. And I think all those experiences when we pedal help us learn, make us wiser. I think that more, I can break into some of those pieces with some of your next questions. But for me, it's more about learning and that journey.
Awesome. Yeah, I would second that notion.
Yeah, I guess I was around when I think the term was coined, keep pedaling. Freddie brought it to the table, whether it started in our previous plan or not, but I actually remember the context, Freddie, where I think it really started around line 11 where we had bottle issues and we had this $20 million investment and it wasn't running well. And we all had a boss that knew how to pressurize the vessel. and we were getting prepared for a visit because we weren't performing so well. And man, leading up to that and just knowing the conversation that's coming and the early mornings, late nights, quite frankly, brute force and ignorance trying to make this thing perform. New technology, there isn't a playbook. We're learning as we go using the skills and knowledge we have. And it was, hey, just keep pedaling. We know what's coming. Take it and move on and learn from it. And, one of the things it taught me is feedback is a gift. And there's many times you're going to get feedback and you don't like it or you don't like how it's delivered. But if you really focus on it and listen to what they're saying, not how they deliver it, how they say it, and be quick to process it and then come back and provide your answers, your feedback, your thoughts, because you got two eyes, two ears, and one mouth. And at least for me, when I was younger, man, I quick to, hey, let's go toe to toe, whatever this is. And you don't learn anything from that. Like, hey, take the feedback, process it, and then come back to the table. And that's been valuable for me in my career. But the concept of keep pedaling, like especially in manufacturing, you're going to have good days, you're going to have highs, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have lows. And the process doesn't always look like progress. And if you believe you're doing the right things and you keep working at it with your team to develop the muscle, you'll see success. And knowing everybody on this team, they've helped me with success along the way. And I'd like to think I've helped them.
I wrote down another question in the middle of this one, and it was how does working in that fast-paced environment shape your decision-making process? It's like a decision has to be made, even when you don't have like the 100%. Was there for the group? Doesn't have to be everybody, but was there like a thing that popped out to you during your career that like because of that environment, I'm now making my decisions differently, or was there anything like that for you guys?
Let me go. I think when I came into bottling, I thought, and I knew I had a sense of urgency. But when you're bottling at 750 bottles a minute and canning at 1,500 a minute, the sense of urgency you had was not even on the scale. It just makes you move a little faster. Because coming from automotive, where I think Bruno and I can probably a tack time of 15 or 16 seconds. Now you think that's fast, but 1,500 cans a minute, that's a whole lot faster. So you got to make some decisions pretty quick. And I really think it molds you to a certain extent. It kind of breaks you and remakes you. That experience that I had, and just as much as Ken knew how to pressurize the vessel, in that plant, Shawn knew how to do it too. Now, in a good way, though. It was never a bad situation. Even in a bad situation, it was never a chewing. It was about, okay, let's go solve the problem. And I think we went and solved problems very respectfully, and we were happy to do it. And a long day, as much as we hated it, we knew it had to be done, and we also knew it would be appreciated. So going back to your original question, Tony, I kind of digressed a little. The sense of urgency, it just increased a whole lot more in bottling. And it is helping me, it has helped me beyond that, going to where I went next and to where I'm now. And I think now I'm learning that sometimes I have to go slow to go fast.
No doubt.
What is your experience, Tony? You coming from the military and then going to the bottling industry. How did that feel for you?
There's a bit of a learning curve. I think it was more terminology, machinery, the technical. I think when it came to decision making, it was very similar, but the whole building the bank, building the toolbox of the decision making criteria had changed. So from making decisions, I think, and I talked to a lot of people on this about transition from the military into what they're doing today. And the concepts are the same. It's just learning the lingo, learning the technology, learning the, what the floor says, what the boots on the ground talk about, I think is the key for transitioners. So I'm a 70% now guy, remember Ron Hicks, one of my first mechanics there? He called me U-turn. And as I've grown over the past, 5 or 6 years, I think it's okay to take a U-turn. It's not okay to take a high cost U-turn, the one you got to think about, the one you got to sleep on. It's the low cost U-turns, just take a stab at it, do it now. So, but
yeah, I think it was, you go back to that question. Look, I always took the approach of, thinking about football, practice hard so the games are easy, like that every day trying to develop your folks till you build that trust and then have them make a decision. And the guardrails are, your decision is it going to create a safety issue or a quality issue? And if it's not, then make a decision. We win or we learn. But what you don't want is, I did nothing because I didn't know what to do. Like, just make a decision. And in the bottling world, for those who never worked in that environment, every day we got to talk about what we did every second, every minute, every hour of every day. That's the level we measured. So when you think about your own careers or what you're doing now, have you ever worked in an environment of every second of every minute, somebody knew what you did or didn't do, and did you meet standard? And some people that come into our environment, they thrived in it, but there was a lot of people that really struggled because that's hard to grasp, right? That's sometimes really hard for people that, hey, Batting 300 in baseball, you're an all-star. Batting 300 in manufacturing, you're horrible.
Yeah, I think that Sean Fernando hit it the right way in terms of you need to rewire yourself. No, and the thing that happened to me twice. I mean, I had to rewire myself first running a manufacturing site in Mexico, and then when I had the opportunity to come here, that Sean helped me to come here and do it again, but in a different language. Man, I remember the first call that I got at 3 a.m. from a mechanic of Line 8. Saturday night and couldn't understand a lot of what he was saying. So I ended up saying, man, I'm going that way. And drove myself to the plan and, go ahead.
No, I think it's great.
Something?
I want to touch real quick on what Shawn was saying, because I think in my current state, that's kind of the learning that I'm sharing about moving to a more urgent pace of operations. So when I think back to the original question, I think urgency was in there, right, Tony? Like,
yep.
As far as, how do we get minute by minute?
How does it shape your decision making?
Yeah, and your decision making. And it's really interesting because, in the environment I'm in right now, it's like we have like, call it, there's 5 lines that really have some prioritization around them where we have to just quite simply get better. And it's across 2 metrics, right? It's, if you think about service and you think about efficiency at the basic levels, like, we were also taught that safety and quality were non-negotiables, right? Like we automatically assume that we are working on the right things, that we've earned the right to talk about service and efficiency. Like, if we're still bringing safe work environments and right first time to the table, then we need to go back and have a whole other conversation. So it's about like getting into the part about service and attainment. And then, if you think about, call it 5 lines, like as we think about what we did in our time in cold, let's say we targeted 5 lines and we said, we're going to measure how well they perform in service and how well they perform in efficiency. And so there's 10 metrics there. To Shawn's point, and Freddy, you followed up, it's like, if you got 3 out of 10 metrics across 5 lines, right? 5 by 2, think about a 5 by 2 metric. If you got 3 of 10 right in baseball, like Shawn said, you'd be a Hall of Famer. In manufacturing, you have a lot of problems if you're only batting 30%, right? Like, that's the part about like the clarity on the critical few. There's 5 lines out of, call it 30, and we're going to go make good change on these lines. And like the kinds of conversations that have to happen and the amount of transparency and like, wow, we really messed up has to come out from that environment. To Shawn's point, some people are very wired to it and other people are not. Like, I thought that was something that resonated with me. Go ahead, Freddy.
No, there's the other dimension. There is time, no? Like, exactly. 1 minute, 1,500 cans didn't make it. Were not made. So 2 minutes, 3,000.
Oh, no, you're exactly right.
Yeah,
no, in 3 minutes in automotive, it's 3 trucks didn't get built. But in the beverage industry or the food and beverage industry, it's 1,500 of something didn't get built, 800 of something didn't get built. The numbers are very big.
Yeah, and in the automotive industry, if you got 9,000 folks at a Ford plant walk out and go on strike, then what does that matter?
But guys, on the flip side, you got an issue and you don't make a decision. 1,500 just got made and you got a quality issue. 3,000 just made and you got a quality issue. And it can be something simple as the can coder's not running. And before you know what to do, you got a whole day's worth of rework in about 5 minutes.
Shawn's talking about line 8, by the way, Freddy. All I can think of the same call.
Too funny.
Was it Monster?
I would
Yes.
love to hear Gilberto's take in all this conversation so far. What you got, man? Are you on the I-20 Beltway there in Chicago or what?
He's working second shift tonight.
Yeah.
No, I literally just left. Just pretty much parked in front of the Woodman Market and enjoying what you're saying. I guess my 2 cents here. I think we all have the power of the analysis. We got a lot of we have a lot of people that are collecting data to make the right decisions. But then we have the timing as Freddy mentioned. The timing is the big factor, and that factor is going to be dictated by either the experience or how well we can just make that call, even by risk or not. I don't know. Personally, sometimes I guess based on the data, I'm making the right decision, but I know internally that it's a bigger risk doing so. Sometimes the experience helps and say, okay, this is an easy one because based on my experience and the data available, this is the decision. I get it. But some more times, I guess we are taking risks, like we need to do something because as Shawn mentioned, no, it's going to be worse if we don't do something, if we don't make a decision for the team, correct? At the end of the day, the team is looking after you for making that call. So that's what we're paying for.
There's background noise there, Tony.
Shawn, Fernando.
Is it me again?
Yeah, I'll cut this part out. Hold on a second. 21, 30, 21, 40.
Bruno is
Sorry.
off.
All right, we'll keep going.
Bruno is off. I don't know what's going on with him.
Next question. So most of us are new to new companies, right? New beginnings. One of the themes. And Gilberto, you're in a new beginning too. So, what's the same? What's new? What's the future of manufacturing of wherever you're headed for you? Don't all go at once.
Davies.
I'll go. Look, I'm probably, when you think about the manufacturing side, I'm kind of once removed from manufacturing at a plant level, but running large operation. And I would tell you, like, different industry, the culture, the environment, even the people can be different, but you're still using the same tools because every one of us on this call, we're good at something and we're good at solving problems. And any environment you're in, look, you get hired because there's problems and there's opportunities. And it's some of these same skill sets of how do you understand what's happening? The idea of go to Gemba, talk to the actual people, go to the actual place, look at the actual situation, and develop a strategy on hey, twice the good and half the bad, whatever it is. And what I've learned in manufacturing in my first 22 years at previous role, you still use that skill set and it works almost anywhere. Now, do I enjoy not catching 1,500 cans a minute? Yeah, sure, I do. But there's a lot of other problems and they're different, but the tools are the same.
Good stuff. Anybody else? What's same, new, future?
There's problems. There's people that help you to solve the problems. That's the same thing. I mean, it's always people. And as Shawn said, I mean, the toolkit that we do, all of us have is there for us to help us, and having a process to solve problems help you to get on top of everything. And at the end of the day, if you are surrounded from the right leadership that supports whatever decisions you're making, that's the key of success for you to keep being successful.
Boom.
So I echo Shawn and Freddy. The same is the opportunity, excuse me, the fact that there's opportunity to go solve problems. I think everyone hires us because we have that capability to go solve problems. The difference is how you take that opportunity, how you structure it. I think every single environment we are all in, the structures are a little bit different. And as part of solving your problem, you have to change some of those structures to go after and solve it. And the skill sets around you are just not the same. I think we were all blessed to be able to work together with the skill sets that we have. And I think when we work together and looking back, I think there might have been times where we didn't appreciate the horsepower that we had in one room on one call. When you go to different industries and you're around some folks that don't have that experience, don't have that knowledge, sometimes don't even have the same drive you have, you have to structure yourself different to get them on board and to go win the battle. For me, that's the difference. And the future, to me, is all about staying humble. What do you learn from it? And how do you keep getting better? And how do you share some of the skills that you have to make others better? Then your job just becomes easier.
You know, I was looking for a new job lately, and a guy named Bakari Fucles, I reached out to him. I was like, hey, tell me my flaws. Tell me what I need to chill out on, what I need to fix before I go into this new role. And one of the things he said was like, sometimes just kind of slow it down for some normal people. Right? So lucky to be amongst that group of that powerhouse, that horsepower, you said. But yeah, definitely got to pump the brakes. And
definitely slow down is good. I mean, I had the opportunity also to slow down a little bit, maybe a little bit more than I would expect, but that, I mean, that's okay. And you learn from it. I mean, you get into this dynamic that mentally you are always 100% and like 110%. And sometimes that doesn't help you to think right. So slowing down is not bad at all.
I want to throw something out there, and then I'll turn it to you, Bruno, because this has something to do with you. One thing also that's transparent when you go to another role, there is absolutely nothing more important than source hiring, developing talent, and how to be an exporter of it. And you guys know who our mentor was that drilled that into us in a good way. But I mentioned that because Bruno was one of my HR partners early in the burn in Irving. And I got to tell you, before like Freddy showed up or Shawn showed up or even Tony showed up, we were paying rock bottom wages, and we would just recycle. Okay, that person's out. Who else is looking for a job? And when we started putting talent into the business, you just saw that operation accelerate. And Bruno and Ken were a big part of that. And having folks on your team that you've built relationships with that's willing to go to bat for you and have some of those back office conversations or corporate led conversations to help, like, look, we got to think differently and let's do something different. And hey, let's go try something different, because doing the same thing over and over isn't going to give you different results.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and it's come up time and time again as far as how do you look and respect people more than the role? Like that's the part that was really instrumental in some of the transformation. And I think Shawn, Fernando, you talked about like how lucky were we to get amass the type of people that we did to talk about the things that we did. It was a great time. Like I always talk, to Ken about like, wow, what a case study this would have all been, like the work we did, the people that we brought together, the accomplishments we made. And it was all like you say, Shawn Davies, like it's about, how do we build the right organization and how do we go about it the right way. And it was like folks that, fit, runway, lean, leadership. I think we were all coached that same way, but we really looked at it that way. And so, and I would say, how lucky were we, Freddy, to have you and Irving at that time, where you're going through so much change, but you've been somewhere that we wanted to go. And how did we, really value your expertise? And then, Shawn Fernando, the addition there, learning bottling, which is different than automotive. I thought that was great. And then, Tony from the outside piece, that military piece that we were trying to build always, we were always trying to, junior military officers can come into tough situations and add value. Tony Haber was a case study in that. And then Gilberto, same thing on the Miami side. Like, how do we get really good at specific tactical things? And now Gilberto is running one of the biggest operations in the portfolio. So like, it was just like, that was the time when Shawn Fernando says, how lucky were we? Yeah, we were really, really lucky to figure all that out, together. And then I would say, lastly, it would be, going back to you, Shawn Davies. It's like, someone to put it all together and, define what good looks like. How do you progress in an organization? How do you were a subject matter expert from warehouse operations, driving a forklift in Naspers, all the way to running multiple sites. Like, how did you bring all that together for people that were, coming in at the same time you were? It was new coaching, it was new direction, but you were the pinnacle to us of, adopting this new way of working, and it really paid dividends at the biggest soda site. And so the last thing I would say is that I said in an earlier conversation, I want to say it again. It was like, I got to learn from Shawn Davies passively. I was a business partner, had an HR manager supporting his site. But as my time with Dr. Pepper went on and I became more operational, to leverage the lean side, Shawn was there, Davies was there every step of the way, and always, worked with me on the things that I needed to learn. And we always had a really good, mature relationship together. And so that was really cool. And I think, Davies, you're more of a catalyst than you probably give yourself credit for, but, it needs to be said. I think we're all here today, based on some influence of your leadership, and you're really, really respected. So I wanted to make sure that was crystal clear from my vantage point. Thank you.
Man, I appreciate it, right? Just seeing the team and knowing hire, develop, influence. And, to Bruno's point, like there was an opportunity when you think about two things we hit on. When we started to turn around this operation, we thought differently and we started to hire talent with runway. They didn't have to be manufactured. They didn't have to be bottling talent. Hiring talent with runway, and look at some of these folks on the call. Look at you guys, and a few of you already mentioned. I didn't come from bottling manufacturing, and where it really helped me, Bruno, it's a two-way street.
Yeah,
I was not a lean practitioner. I didn't know that stuff. Like, it was,
right.
Man, call it a plant rat. What's going on in the plant? I can tell you how to fix it, what we need to do, when to stop, when to go, right? But learning some of those tools were some of the things I was missing in my leadership and development. And when I had an opportunity to lead Bruno, right, we quickly developed. I think it was first day. Hey, look, let's just get this off the table. I'm not going to ask you to coach you about lean because there's no value there. But here's what I will teach you. And it became a two-way street. And here you're teaching me, and you would put some documents together. Bruno, it's no secret. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to figure out how to delete some of this stuff and use this for my plant, right? Like, how am I going to recreate this, right? And I don't need to start from scratch. Let me take something I've already learned that works and replicate it. And that relationship worked great. And I remember when you left Miami, I'm like, man, how do we make this place run even better? But
Yeah.
you laid the foundation, and when Ivan came in, it just kept going, right? And that's a sign of developing the muscle. Kept going. I mean, we took Gilberto out of there as well, and I'm like,
Yeah.
my God, I hope I like Miami because I'm going to spend a lot of time there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's great commentary. And we went through our own share of challenges. I think I had a newfound respect for you, Shawn. I'm gonna keep it general. But it was so interesting when I got to Miami, was there for a couple of months, new RO system. I even mentioned, like, I learned more about RO than I cared to learn, but I still understand the concepts of it. And it was really cool. Like, when, the way you handled coming into Miami, when we were dealing with some things and there was some carryover, and like the person that was responsible for that actually got into a more expanded role, running network stuff. And then, so you and I were there, and then, that person that got more expanded role came in and started asking, like, this is still a problem. And I remember, like, the part that I really enjoyed with you was you were like, man, did that person hit their head or something? Like, how did they forget, like, what was going on? And I was like, you know what? That's a great question. And I'm glad you asked it, because I would have probably, from my HR side before, I would have really come down on it. But it was good where we worked on a solution. And then, I didn't get to see it through, but you were all over it. Like, you were able to get into a situation. And I would say that is synonymous with everybody on this call, is the part that I'm talking about, what Shawn emulates. I would say that every one of us that are friends on this call are able to do. We come into a situation, it's not so great. But immediately from the time we put our boots on the ground, we own it and we fix it, and we don't really spend a lot of time celebrating that we fixed something that someone else couldn't. We just get after the problem. We understand what needs to be done, and we fixed it. And that was a part that, I would say I still use today as I come into any kind of environment that's got a history. It's like, doesn't matter what the history is. Tell me the current state. Tell me what the gap is. Tell me what we need to do to fix it. And we're going to work together to fix it. And the way you engaged all stakeholders, the way that you got the subject matter experts at the table, whether it was engineering with, like, how did this design get in this place that's not ideal? Like, you held everyone in a very professional way accountable for why we wound up the way we were. And it was a very systematic and logical approach. And I think your time in Irving really, really honed that skill on you that gives you that ability to do that now on a much larger scale. But I think all of us are in that kind of same situation. So I thought it was a really great story to share about, like, you didn't do a lot of blame fixing. You just said, okay, got it. We'll fix it. Let's get going. And I respected you helping me through that at that time, Shawn.
Yeah,
playing offense, right?
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
Same.
Playing to win. Playing to win.
Yeah, but also having the capacity or the capability to build those relationships, so you can, enjoy that. As Bruno said, that fixing, or not blaming, but fixing the problem, but having the opportunity to actually just talk and just move on and just do things and just fix things, no, and having joy while doing it. Because there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of things going on, there's always somebody having different opinions, there's always that not a lot. And as you said, that you had somebody asking the same question, that that where the problem was, and not being able to give support. We didn't have that. I mean, we just talk about it, identify the problems. When you identify the problem, you are 50% there, and then it's all about just making a decision, prove it works good. If not it doesn't work, then try another thing, and then just keep pedaling. Finding joy of fixing whatever situation we were in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Keep
I'm gonna keep moving. What you got?
No, I just said keep peddling. I thought that
Keep
was
pedaling.
Yeah.
Freddie said
Well,
that.
think about your definition of that in a one sentence line, because that's going to be a question. We're about 40 minutes in. The goal is an hour and 15 minutes. So I got a few more questions left. On lessons learned, we're all different. All of us. We came from different backgrounds, different areas, different industries. How have you matured over time? Maybe a mindset shift or two throughout your career over the past 5 years.
Man, I'll kick it off, guys. Like, especially young in my career, and the old idea of making mountain out of molehills, that was me, right? Like, little things just became huge problems, if you will, and the idea of chasing shiny bells, like, and as I got older or more mature in my career, surrounded myself with talent, it was like, look, accept you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have good days. Make sure your peaks are long and your valleys are short, and looking at it over time, are we getting better or worse or about the same? Um, and then the other side of that is focus on strategy. You got a team that's on the front line. They're dealing with the day to day, right? And quite frankly, they can't see the forest through the trees because they got their heads down. You know, how many cases do I need to make today? How do I service the customer? What's my quality? What's my safety? Where somebody has to be able to take a step back and focus on strategy. Yeah, we might lose today, we might lose tomorrow. My job is to make sure the team's in a position, has the right tools to not lose next month or not lose next year. And where are we going, and make sure the team all understands the true north of where we're headed. Otherwise, you end up in this environment. It is Groundhog Day. And eventually people burn out, and you lose people over time. You lose really good people. That's my biggest takeaway, Tony.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with Shawn. The for me there's another thing that is feedback. No, and feedback comes from anybody. No, so I mean you're used to have feedback from your boss, but when you realize that feedback can come from the operator, then you learn more. No, and being able to kind of change whatever
I'll never
you have to
forget.
change. Go ahead.
One of my first couple weeks in the Irving facility, there's a guy named Al on a filler, and he was telling me about this one thing that he saw that was different, and I was like, oh, okay. And like a month later, I was like, this is a problem. I need to go look at this. And what he said that week 1, week 2 was the problem, right? So 100%, Fred.
Yeah, you made me remember when week 2 for me in Irving. I remember that we had the mechanic of line 6, and I was checking one of the the wrappers that we had there, Jones machine, and with with him, and he shared with me that the mezzanine of that infit of that machine was sitting in a block of wood, and what? And he shared with me that that whoever was helping me to make decision before told him that there was a very expensive part to replace, and we didn't have budget for it. And in my mind was like, what? How much is the part that we missed? No, it's like $100. And I mean, we made a lot of things based on that comment, but at the end of the day, is feedback pulls you like a lot of information in front of you that helps you to actually change things.
Yeah, operators know. They hear it every day. If it sounds different, then something's going on.
Gilberto, any feedback?
No, definitely. So maturity, correct? So it's not only the timing, or the timing line around how many years we've been pretty much practicing or learning on this, correct? I think it's the quality of the learning that is going to give you that maturity that we were looking for, correct? I think I heard Shawn mentioning not kind of
getting crazy with small things. I think that's a portion of it. Um, got some good stories for most of you guys mentoring me about how deal with situations that for me in that time was kind of a okay, the plan is going down and you were saying no, or just do what you know. What will you do basically? And I pretty much explained to you, well, I will do this and that. I will pretty much move these people around and change flavors, change packaging, whatever it takes. Uh, and that's exactly what it is, correct? The maturity means like how we gonna let the people learn from our experience and try to make better decisions that we did in some point, correct? I think that's my takeaway about how mature are we in the process. I recall when I get out of my comfort zone in the manufacturing side through Bruno saying, "Hey, uh, manager position, but it's in the warehouse. I think it's a really good opportunity. You know nothing about warehouse. Is something important?" And I say, "Well, why not?" Correct. So I moved there, and like a month later or 2 months later, Bruno moved out of Miami, and Shaw came to Miami, and a week after his first visit, there was one truck loose. I mean, we was missing in Miami. I called Shawn and say, Shawn, we have one truck that nobody knows where it is. And Shawn say, okay, what's the problem with that? Well, it's a full truck of product, Shawn. They say, okay, just call me a week later and let's see if, I don't know, maybe it could appear. Well, I spent kind of a week literally calling, suppliers, carriers, security guards. It was a mess. And, the experience, it's exactly like that, those things that we know that eventually, because experience, because knowing the processes, in some point, and I recall he's telling me, just focus on the execution for the warehousing. And yeah, just keep an eye on that trailer that we're looking for, do the right things, contact the right person. And eventually you just appear, correct? In one specific lot in Miami area, I just appear and they get it back. And well, I think that's part of the journey of how we are gaining the maturity in the during the process, correct? Learning, and then how we could just translate that to the next generation of employees that are growing, and we're kind of calibrating them that they can effectively step up and take the next role, correct? I think um, that will be my 2 cents there, guys.
I thought that was a great example, Gilberto, and I think it tied back to what Freddy and Shawn said from the maturity standpoint.
I have to echo what Shawn, Freddy, Bruno, and Gilberto said. But my maturity came on actually a very specific day. For me, it's more professional, personal, and spiritual. Leaving Dr. Pepper, then going and having an organization of 1,600, picking up a location that was number 43 out of 43, and then bringing it up to like number 21, 22, and then end of 2021, I was sitting in hospice with my dad about to pass. And then I was wondering, okay, professionally, I'm balancing the strategic with the tactical, but I'm failing miserably personally. And I have to make some changes for my family and for my spiritual life. And for me, that's when the maturity came in. I was praying about it, and that's when God kind of worked in mysterious ways. Shawn reached out, and it just changed my outlook and my path. And for me, maturity is not just on the professional side. I think it's a professional, it's the physical, it's the spiritual, and it's the personal. And having the time to focus on some of those and getting that time now, that is allowing me to see things a little bit different than I did in the past. And obviously, I appreciate Shawn for that opportunity. And I appreciate all of y'all for being a part of that journey. Because for me, that's where the maturity comes from in all those aspects, not just one.
Yeah, I think back to with what you're talking about with me personally. I think back to a episode I did with a guy named Keetrick Buffin, and he talks about the seasons of life, because there's seasons where you got to be all in on one of those areas. The whole balance thing shifts all the time. Like you got to dive in on this side of the balance, you got to dive in on the other side of the balance, and the seasons. I think, while you're always trying to always be in that center line of balance, knowing when to shift it at the right time, timing's everything, I think is a big important piece of that for sure. And there's a lot of maturity to that, right? So cool. I'm gonna keep rolling. Gilberto, you missed the intros, but this is my Gilberto intro note that we missed was Gilberto. He was supporting element number 1 for me back in 2019. So I just had to drop that. So for all you guys, what would you have done differently in your last transition, job to job?
For me, I didn't have a plan B. I was so in love and so focused on my journey with the previous company I used to work with that I was just, keep pedaling, but didn't have a plan B. So as Shawn mentioned about the strategy, I didn't have a personal strategy. It took me a while to build that plan B and working towards it, but that's what I would do different. I didn't have a plan B, a professional plan B.
Awesome. Kind of same boat, Freddy. So I feel you.
Yeah, when you asked that question, like I didn't go first because I'm like, that's very thought provoking, and listening to Freddy's like, yeah, I mean, I was kind of the same boat. Like, man, I was all in, right? I didn't need a plan B because there wasn't one. And I think
same here, exactly the same thing.
You know, when you have loyal employees and they never think about a plan B, there's only plan A. When you're all in, it ties to what Shawn said. Like you get so consumed in the job at hand and developing people and surrounding yourself with people you want to be around. And when I look at this group here, like absolutely people I want to be around. There's a lot of people that dread going to work. Man, I remember many times Monday morning, like I can't wait to get to work because I'm gonna get to work with some very talented people. But then on the other side, like not having a plan B at first was like, okay, what do I do now? But I think the reason I never had a plan B was outside of I didn't need one. You always wonder, hey, this is the only thing you've done. Are you marketable? Would somebody want you on the team? And it quickly found out couldn't have been further from the truth. Like, wow, there's a lot of people that want to talk to you, and now it's almost like dating. But hey, they're all lined up. I get to pick one. I'm not waiting for somebody to pick me, right? And when you're so focused on growing your career and growing a team full of talent, you don't stop and think about things like that. And it's given me an opportunity, and quite frankly, it's heard you guys say a lot of humbling things about me, but it's given me a lot of confidence to say, you know what, I bring a ton to the table, and if I'm ever in that position again, it's not scary. It's somebody's going to want your talents because of what you bring to the table. So never really thought about a plan B, but learned a lot when I needed one.
Yeah, that whole thing, plan B starts becoming an option when you don't work with a crew like that. You know what I mean? Or you don't work with a leadership team that thinks like that works the same way, that has the same mindset. That's engagement.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly right.
So for me, it was.
Go ahead, Shawn.
For me, it was different, Tony. I had a plan A. Transitioning out of my previous role, I think Shawn gave me the opportunity to kind of do it on my own terms. I got to take some time off from my previous role to this role just to focus on my family for about 5 to 6 weeks before my start date, just to kind of sharpen the saw, to refresh, to do some things. So I would say that I was very blessed not to need a plan B, because I had a plan A, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah, but having a plan B is what we're all talking about too, though.
The question was,
That's the killer.
different, no? And what would you do different? That was what I would do different.
Sean Fernando plays on the front foot. You know, if you talk about soccer,
plan A.
He's a front foot guy. We're probably more back foot for our loyalty. I would say I love your question, because I think it was kind of interesting from my perspective. I'll tell you, I didn't think I needed a plan B. I had moved 3 times in 6 years, and had, made an impact, I thought, in Miami. We were the changeover kings, and then went to Knoxville, and we were 100 million. We delivered 100 million. Where when it was said that Knoxville would never do 100 million, we delivered 100 million like you were going to the store to buy a dozen eggs, right? And so it was cool during that time frame, but at the end of the day, the plan B part, I think, how you recover, how you assess. Shawn, like Davies said, Shawn Fernando, you always have a plan A, and that's why I love that about you, because I think you do a really great job, Shawn Fernando, of making sure your personal and professional life lines are parallel and congruent. You're always going like that. You're never like that, and I respect that about you. And then, Shawn Davies, what you said was like, hey, I have a lot to offer, and it is so cool to start engaging in a world outside of what I know to figure out what I want to be. Because for me, the part was, I guess maybe my timing was a little bit different. The part for me was like, there were some great opportunities presented to me by some sponsors and champions that always had my well-being at heart. But there was also this piece that I was really wanting to scratch at, was like, I also maybe want to go work for some new leaders and learn some new things and go join an organization that has a different culture than what I've been a part of. And I think it's just how you marry all that up for yourself. I mean, you'll know that the part about maturity is like, yep, you gave it all, you were loyal. You know what? Things change. Organizations change. Are you the same person you were 5 years ago? Well, how would you expect the organization to be the same? But to go and get to work with new people, learn new things, go latch on to another company that has a whole great vision about values and service and stuff like that. Like in Davies and Fernando, I think you all are doing that with your company. Tony, I think we're early in the burn, but you are really wound up in a great space. Gilberto, you are doing phenomenal things. Same for you, Freddy. Like I just think the way all those things come together is pretty good. But at the end of the day, from a maturity standpoint, it would be like, are you more complete? Are you happier? Are you still adding value to society in your current role? Have you expanded your influence? Like, at the end of the day, if you can say that after any change, then you're on a great path. And I think all of us are in that spot. So I think
that's that entrepreneurial spirit.
Exactly.
Right. It doesn't matter where you land. At some point, It's just going to all click. Just got to learn the lingo.
That's it.
Awesome. Let's keep moving. All right. How are you all, in your own perspective, trying to add value to society? I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. I almost listened to all of his latest episodes. At one point, he said, "Keep improving on how you interface with society." You know, as I go through those episodes and I listen to them, I'm like, "Oh, that's a good one. I want to put it on my list." How are you? How do you keep improving your ability to interface with society and adding value?
I can take that one.
Go.
So 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 these tools that we've been learning, correct, with different names for the years, and I've been hearing, happily when you are saying that you are not considering yourself expert on the TPN tools, correct? Because to me, certainly, you guys in front of a board, you look like a guru of the TPN tools for me, all of you. So, but that being said, that mentality, like the daily practice of those tools, now that I have my kids, like, interacting more and more and more and more outside. So every time that they're pretty much interacting with their friends outside, backyard, front yard, and those guys are coming with problems, correct? Hey, that we were playing with the Nerf gun and stuff are in the tree. Okay. Immediately, all those tools are coming to me, correct? And that's the interaction that I'm bringing between my family, my kids, and the neighborhoods, like the neighborhood itself. Like, okay, how are we going to resolve this out? Are we going to cry out together, or are we going to try to find a way to get that out of there? So, and now here in this, in the Illinois area specifically here, that there is so much diversity, correct? And it's incredible because to me, that was exactly what I was looking for my family. I think that's something that it feels really good to pretty much practice and not only provide these kind of advices to my kids, but to all the kids in the area here closer to my family, so they can just think, or at least start thinking in that way, that there are methodic and analytical ways to resolve problem. I think that's kind of my little grain, or my little contribution to how the society should be looking. Not even counting, the normal formalities about, participating in, activities for the school, for the YNCA, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I think about it.
ShamWow. Get my first ShamWow. Diversity.
Yeah.
Culture in your kids, man. That's a good idea. It's awesome.
I'll go. Man, that's another tough one, right? But look, I have three daughters, um, and I think about it like, my contribution to society outside the workplace, right, is, man, guys, look around. Like, it's not the same world we grew up in, and heaven forbid, when I was a kid, 8 a.m. in the morning, right? My parents would tell me, go out and ride your bike till the stink wears off, like when I was a little kid. And as long as I'm home at dinner, nobody cared. In today's society, it's, man, if you can't find one of your kids, like, it's an eerie feeling. But then I look at like iPads, smartphones, internet, things I haven't had to deal with when I was a kid because I rode my bike all day. My parents didn't care what I was doing. And when I think about that, like, how do I raise three great humans and teach them life lessons and prepare them for when they get older? But so much, like, they're teaching me, and I think that has made me a better leader to understand more about people and servant leadership and learning things that, hey, raise them in the same house, same mom, same dad. Those are three different people, and you got to manage them very differently. And how do I, influence them to be successful when they're older and be good stewards of society?
Awesome.
So I think I can echo Shawn and Gilberto, the opportunity with your kiddos. But then there's one side, I want to get involved in ministry. I think that's, and I want to have an impact there. And I'm struggling right now with it just because Wendy and I just moved into a house. We're still trying to figure out our surroundings, trying to plug into a church.
Well, at least
And,
you got the blinds hung.
We do, yes. So that's one piece that I want to get better at. It's a goal, and it's something that's going to come down the road.
Awesome. Freddy, you got anything?
No, I keep thinking about what Gilberto said, and I don't have a lot of more to add. But then Davies said the right thing about the kids, no, and coming from a different country, in diversity is important for me, obviously, and growing my kids here is being great. But there's some challenges, no, that sometimes happen. The other day, my kid, one of my oldest came crying about some kids, trying to kind of not having fun with him, and he felt some pressure about that interaction, and having the kind of capacity to kind of fix that without doing a big deal. I'm humble about how I learn, how did he was able to manage that. And all I did was giving him tools, no? And Gilberto talk about a little bit of TPM tools with different environments. So I did a similar thing about like providing him with tools so he could fix the problem by himself. And I'm proud to say that he fixed the problem the day after. No, the same situation happened, and he came back on his bike, and instead of being crying, he was smiling and happy about him fixing the problem and not me fixing it for him. So proud of him. No?
That's another ShamWow moment, I think, because I'm working through the same thing. 2 more questions. We're at 1 hour and 10 minutes, so we're on track. Second to last question is, what does keep pedaling mean to you?
So I'll go first because that phrase came out of my mouth somehow. But so what that means to me is, as I said, I mean, what is the word that I said? Is resilience, no? But
resilience.
Yeah, resilience. Yeah. So the thing that comes up to my mind when I use the phrase is are you familiar with the Tour de France?
Yeah, it's the bicycle.
Those bikers, that professional bikers, it's like the World Cup of professional bikers. It happens every year in summer in France. They go around. France is like, I think that is 2,000 miles that they need to go after in 21 days. So it's a big deal, no? And the imagine that comes to my mind is always, I mean, you ride 2,000 miles, and most of that time you have to go up. No, I mean, you have to get pedal going up in the mountains, and there's this part of the situation where you are like pedaling, or those guys are pedaling, and they are feeling the pain of the big ride that they have, and the environment that there's summer and the hot and all that. But I mean, I bet that they can tell the view that they have, and they have all these people cheering to them, and somehow they find the way to kind of get on top of that, and one day they can ride 8 hours, and they finish that stage, and they keep pedaling the day after. And somehow they need to find joy to get on top of that, no? So for me, is that joy that you find while you are in trouble, is the positive that you find when you are in a very negative environment, and having the opportunity to get that gives you that resilience that I talk about in the beginning. That's the keep pedaling piece for me.
That's
I'm
great.
agree. Maybe my synonym for this will be maybe perseverance. That's the word that pretty much is attached to that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think we heard about keep pedaling. I think when we were all together, were we in Mexico when we heard all about the 4 minute mile? You remember that one? Where
Roger
once the
Bannister.
4 minute mile was done. Do you remember that the video we saw about the 4 minute mile? Does anybody
Yeah.
remember that one?
Yeah,
I
I
do.
remember that. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that. I remember that. Yeah,
yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
could
I
break
think,
it.
no one had done it, and then once someone did it, maybe 14 people have done it before then. I would say the keep pedaling piece, Freddie, that really resonates with me is the part like, whatever the target lines are, they're always just where we're trying to raise the bar. Like we create gaps for us. A lot of times we problem solve where there's a gap to a target, but then once we get to the target, we raise that bar. And the part about the keep pedaling, that resonates with me is like in what we do, what we chose for our profession, there is no finish line. Like there's always a better way. There's always, we are always trying to tell the productivity story. Remember productivity? How do you do more with the same or the same with less? Like that's the part that we're always working to build that muscle. And the only way to do that, you as a leader have to keep pedaling. But you know what? You need more people on the exercise bikes. And you are always rooting for that
you
for
hit
that
the
clap.
right point, Bruno.
Yep.
And
Go
something
for it.
that I didn't say is that today's mentality. I don't know. I mean, I'm just gonna maybe generalize, but we have a lot of joy about success. Now everybody gets cheering. I mean, I have a neighbor that is part of this group of YouTubers that they're very successful and they make a lot of money. About they're famous because they have trick shots. Did I say it right? I mean, then they put a ball in a basket 100 yards away, and they celebrate because they did it. But they don't show the whole process to actually get it right. and 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 my kids like love that thing. No, and not look like they are not as famous as they used to be 4 years ago. But at the end of the day, to me, there's a lot of celebration about success stories, but there is not a lot about there is not a lot of celebration about the process to get there. No, so to me, keep pedaling piece is like, how do you find joy in the process to get there?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great point. Great point.
Yeah, agreed. I'd throw it out there, Tony. Right, keep pedaling for me is, two things, and I don't mean this one in a bad way, but I've always taken the approach of, man, don't let the bastards wear you down, right? Because in today's society, it's become okay to quit, and that's not me, right? Hey, go home, had a bad day, don't like the results, sharpen the saw a little bit, wake up in the morning like, I'm going to get there an hour early today, right? You got me yesterday, you're not going to get me today. And then it's always been, Bruno talks about there's this target we set for ourselves, we hit it, and then we adjust the goalpost, right? We just keep going. There's never a finish line. And you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's how you grow. That's how you learn. That's how you stretch yourself. And that's how you grow your team. When you get comfortable, you're really not adding value, because you're not pushing yourself or others to be better, to be able to do more. That's what I think about.
Probably always going to ride the same bike, but just choose the right hill, I guess.
So, let me add, Tony. It's a journey. I echo what Shawn said, and I think actually I echo what everyone's saying. It's a journey. It's about perspective. You could allow a battle to weigh you down, or you could come out of that battle and you could still have a mentality where your glass is always half full. When your glass is always half full, you're always gonna, I guess, have better thoughts, better ways of solving problems. You're going to be open to different ideas. And I would also use the word striving for excellence, winning the right way, and always multiplying your capacity. If you don't multiply your capacity, literally, you're just going to keep peddling, not in the right way. And multiplying your capacity is about surrounding yourself with folks better than you, or making the folks around you better than you.
Have you ever
Go ahead.
felt like that glass was now half empty?
I don't allow myself to get there, Tony.
Okay.
If I see myself getting there, I stop myself from getting there, because I guess I'm going to quote what Shawn said: "Don't let the bastards get you."
All right.
If they get you, your glass is going to be half empty. When your glass is going to be half empty, you are just not going to lead the right way.
Shamwell.
They've won, right? They've won, and you decide who they is. And I'm just sitting here smiling because Freddy and I, and even Shawn, we used to laugh like, man, I keep pedaling. I just need a bigger bike. How do I get a bigger bike?
Yeah.
I need a lower gear.
But I do think there's a lot of the coaching part, like Shawn Davies, you know, your ability to talk about that stuff in that context. I think, you know, there's a, I'll tell you something, in the keep peddling environment, there's got to be always someone that is framing up the box, right? Framing the big picture, talking about what's in scope, what's out of scope, and keeping things in perspective.
It's
and
the
I
catcher.
think that's a part. That's
It's
a
like
part.
baseball. You're a baseball fan, right, Bruno?
Did you do a ShamWow? No,
I didn't do a ShamWow, but it's the catcher, right? It's the one framing the box.
It absolutely. They're running the whole. They're running the whole show, you know, and they're keeping things in perspective. You know, I think too many times I see leadership teams go try to fix too many problems, make too many commitments, and under deliver. And I think the part about, like, we're going to lose a couple of days every now and then, but how do we make sure that we're winning the main effort, the battle? And I think that's a part too that, you know, Shawn Davies was talking about, and everybody else on here too was talking about, like, you know, it's a big picture that you have to always be adjusting, you know?
ShamWow.
Like, yeah. Oh, thank you.
Quick funny story for this group, and I don't want to hold you up, Tony. It came to mind that you talk about, hey, run, and you don't get time off. And I can remember a time where it was right before Easter. Freddy, you'll remember this, that corporate said, hey, you got to run. We need product. And we've just been running days on end, and it's like, man, it's Easter. And we went and asked for volunteers. We couldn't get people to work. We finally got a single shift. And I remember making a call, and it was like, yeah, we don't have one to work. We're not going to work. And of course, Big Brother's like, I pay you to figure it out. Okay, we'll figure it out. What happened is that second shift had Freddy and I running the production line. Normally has 7 or 8 people. I'm like, you take the front end, I'll take the back end. We're not going to make shit, but I guarantee you, no one's going to say we didn't run. And we ran what we could. We got a couple thousand cases just because. I mean, it was like, what was the old show? I Love Lucy, taking those Hershey Kisses off the line. Oh, you guys are doing well. Speed it up, right? and I'm running the back and throwing shells and picking up bottles, and Freddy's running the front. And it was like, hey, we figured it out. We did not run. Just wasn't a good day.
You know, Shawn, I really love that example. As I think forward to another plant where we weren't, like, it was like, can you get volunteers to run on Christmas Day? Sure, I can do that. Hey, you know what? You're not a very popular plant manager. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Like, full circle. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be popular and make you run Christmas Day? Get right on it.
I used to say, hey, you're not doing anything this weekend. Come down and help us. We'll run. Well, I don't know how to do anything. I said,
Yeah,
5
no,
minutes.
I could've used
We'll
a
teach
little-
you how to throw
Let me
shells.
We'll
tell
teach you.
The part that I realized, Shawn, years later, actually now more than ever, I could have used you when I was in Tennessee, not Florida. Like, dude, you would have been a rock star. So anyway, appreciate you, bud. Thanks.
All right. I got one more question before I get into that. You know,
Hold on. I think Shawn Fernando had something.
go for it.
Shawn, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Maybe the battery. You're good?
Oh, wait. No, can't hear you. Still on mute.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Better.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So this is a few years ago. And Tony, this is just, I think, when you were heading to Louisville, or maybe just before. It was a big catastrophe in that plant. Shawn was there. I think something blew up, and Shawn was living out of a hotel, cleaning crap up. And I remember very well, I had sent a picture. I had taken a vacation day. I had some cousins fly in from Canada. We were drinking. I took a picture and I sent it to Shawn and to Tim. Might be Freddy too. Tim's at work. Tim sends, I say, hey, I'm drinking beer, having a good time. Tim responds, well, I'm drinking out of the damn fire hose. And then Shawn responds on the text. So all I remember, I'm in the shit trying to get this plant up and going. Because it was all, you remember that time, Shawn, the plant was shut down? There was I think the RO system wasn't working.
It was the RO system failed. So I know a lot about RO.
Well, at least you got an LTS.
We had to figure out how to get carbon into the tower before we could start the plant up. And we had this crew helping us, and their pump failed. Then their hose collapsed, and we're in this, like, the only way to get the carbon in the RO tower was they had this little $10 swimming pool you buy from Lowe's. You put water in it, you water down the carbon, use this vacuum to put it in it. Well, what they said would take 2 hours. I think I got done at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was just head to toe black, soaking wet. And I remember this because I'd called the hotel and said, hey, I'm going to be late. Don't give my room away. It was 4:30 in the morning. I walked into the hotel. They said, sir, we don't have a room. What do you mean? I called you. Yeah, but you didn't show up. We gave it away. And I said, you know what? There's a couch right there, and I'm going to go lay on it until you find me a room. And guys, I was just covered. I looked like I got done with mud wrestling, and I was like, I'm going to lay right there. And you know what? They found me a room because they weren't going to let me lay there as people got out of their rooms in the morning, were leaving the hotel. And somehow, I guess I did such a good job. All of a sudden, now Davies, that's your plant. It's now in your region, and eventually, I'm like, Tony, I got an assignment for you. It's a good one.
Yep. Tony, I share that because it's perspective. For me, a beer was great, but Tim, he was a little pissed off. It was hot. It was summer. It was the fire hose.
Yep.
And for Shawn, he was in your plant, and he wasn't getting any damn sleep.
Yep.
But still a great story.
Yeah, it's a great plant too.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. So we're at an hour and 30. So I try to surround myself with good people, the go-getters, you know, the hard chargers, the keep peddlings, not only on the football field, but, you know, on the production floor for you guys. And this is the price of admission. So if you could put your price of admission into a single sentence, what would that be for you in the bottling canning industry? So the price of admission, the sacrifice, the suffering, the thing you fall back on, the thing that makes you tick, whatever that thing is, like, what's your phrase? And for Freddy, I'm going to guess it's keep peddling, but you can, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely keep peddling. No, and at the end of the day, as I said, you need to find find a way to get joy out of whatever is not joy. No, there is not joy there. No, but the price of admission, you have to say, is obviously somehow in the meantime that you are trying to understand, to focus on what is their priorities, you lose some connection with, obviously, with family, no? And for me, I mean, at least I had the opportunity to run facilities where family was not around, no? And first was in Guadalajara in Mexico, and then here in Texas, family was not close, and I have to deal with situations that were not easy, no? I'm still fixing situations with my sisters that are mad with me the first time that we're here because I was happy to have them. I kind of, invite the whole family, and the whole family was here, but I was not there with them in the house. I was out in the plant having to fix something, no? And when I was in home, my mind was in focusing on the plan, again, trying to fix something. So still those situations are in working process, but that's the price of admission. No, it's not sometimes not easy, but at the end of the day, you need to find a way to find joy in those moments.
Cool.
Tony, I'll go next. For me, it's about leadership. If I think about the greatest leader that ever lived and still lived is Jesus Christ. And one of the things that he did it being humble. So for me, the price of admission is being humble, staying humble, going back to using some of Shawn's words, not allowing the bastards to get you, and still keeping a perspective of being humble, because you can learn from every situation. And again, for me, leadership is about being humble and being open and listening. And
Awesome.
there's a lot you can learn from that, and you can drive from that.
Yeah, I thought that was great. If I could add, I would say it was a full week at my day job, a full week, like 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, or whatever. Making an impact and providing goods and services. But for me, the part that I looked the most forward to of this whole week was this time right here, and to be in the company of the caliber of people that are on this call right now. Tony, you're facilitating, which is phenomenal, and you know how much I respect you for that. But what started as Navy football guys talking about what it used to be back in the day to now shop floor people talking about some times that we shared together. I think you've come full circle on that, but I don't want to go long here, but I would just say, like, to me, I don't have a lot of friends, but when I look at this array of people on the screen, these are some really close friends of mine that we've shared experiences, life's lessons. You can never grow tired of Shawn's raising 3 girls, Freddy's sharing about the career change, Shawn's talking about how he was going on the front end, Tony, your last couple months recalibrating, doubling down on certain things. Like, I couldn't be more blessed than to call each of you a very close friend, people that I would spend a Friday night with. And I looked forward to it all week. I looked forward to it for a month. Like, I can't thank you all enough for who you are, what you mean to me. Like, to me, that I'm growing when I realize how much you all mean to me. And I just want to make sure it didn't go unsaid. All yours, Shawn.
Hold on. I have to echo and sham about that one.
Yeah, sham wow. Yeah. Good circle, right, Bruno?
Thanks.
It's well said, Bruno. A tough act to follow, right? And
Yeah.
earlier in the week, I texted Tony, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to make this. I kind of forgot my in-laws were coming into town. There's a Friday night football game, and some of my kids want to go, and I had to negotiate with my wife a little bit, and she's probably outside there tapping her toe. It's time to go here soon. But look, if I tried to sum it up one sentence, that's really hard, Tony. Just letting you know. But
Hey, high level. Keep it high
my,
level, boss.
my price of admission, right? It's man, to hear every one of you guys talking and the feedback you gave me, very much appreciate it. Like you don't hear that often, and I know, like, look, I was a tough dude to work for, but my goal has always been, how do I be an exporter of talent and help people reach their goals and reach their abilities they don't even may not even know they have yet. And that's what's always pushed me, and I'll tell you, that's what brings joy in my career, to help people grow. And where I'm at now, I have a mixed bag of talent, and just putting my time into them and helping them achieve something bigger than themselves. That's the price of admission for me, and that's what gets me out of bed in the morning, and I'm really enjoying where I'm at.
Awesome. Man.
What about you, Tony?
Yeah.
What about you, buddy?
Your turn.
Yeah, it's your turn, Tony.
My turn?
What is your price of admission?
It's beautiful. Kind of what Freddy talked about, like finding the joy in the journey. It's a beautiful thing. You know, it sucks a lot of times. It's awesome a lot of times. But those sucky times is what makes it beautiful, because it's a roller coaster ride. I found I was scrolling through LinkedIn the other day, and I saw a like roller coaster ride type of track versus a straight narrow track going downhill, and two, like, you know, when you go to the arcade and you play the skee ball, two balls dropped at the same time, and that roller coaster meets the finish line way before the one that's the straight narrow path. So I thought that was a good analogy, I guess. So it's beautiful.
Hey, Tony. So real quick, like, you know, even Johnny Carson had a guest host every now and then. What do you, you know, what are you thinking, man? Who interviews you one day and really finds out who Tony Haber is and what shaped Tony, and, you know.
Hey, I'm in good shape. What are you talking about?
But even Johnny Carson had a guest host, man. Like, come on.
Hey,
like, where are you leaving? You're not giving it up yet?
Time will tell. We'll see what happens.
All right. Got it.
Well, guys, I really appreciate your time tonight. We're at an hour and 36 minutes. So, you know, the goal was
that, Tony. Sorry.
Originally an hour, but, you know, they always kind of go a little bit longer than what I think. This is a great cast. Appreciate your time tonight. And obviously and thankfully, say thank you to your wives tonight for your time, and have a good night.